Hello listeners, and welcome back to ND 5.18. And as always, I am your host, Ender. Now, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. The blue breakdown didn't go as well as I thought it would, but it's very hard to make blue sound exciting and fancy, especially when it's such a despised color by a lot of players. But I am hoping that some of you took some informative information from it. And this brings me to a separate video, not going along with the breakdowns, but I believe it's something that all new players or those interested in the game should watch. So without further ado, this is how to play Magic the Gathering. Now, back when I was in college, I prided myself on being able to teach anyone how to play this game 5 to 10 minutes. So for those of you with very short attention spans, that's not a shot, that's a reality. This is how you play the game. Boom, start with 20 life, regular format, 40 life with commander. Draw 7 cards, opening hand. If you play first, you do not draw a card. If you play second, you draw a card. From then on, every person alternates drawing a card on their turn. Okay? Play 1 land per turn. That land is used to play spells, which is everything under the sun. Okay? The object of the game is to reduce your opponent's life total from that 20 or that 40 to 0. That's all you need to know to play the game. Now, for those of you still here, thank you. I'm going to be showing you how to actually interact with the game, give you more thorough and depth, key points on different aspects of the game. Some of these points will get complicated. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to try my best to go through each slide, hit the key points of each. If you have the time on your own, go back through, pause the video. You'll see more like thorough and thought out forms of information there. All right. But my goal here, give a brief overview of everything to get you out there and ready to play the game, because it's a very fun hobby. Okay. Now, let's get started, people. Starting information. Starting life points are 20 in the 60 card format and 40 in the 100 card format. Your starting hand size is 7. You can mulligan, which is shuffle the 7 cards into the deck, draw 7 more, and put one of your choice at the bottom, and it decreases by 1 card each mulligan. In Commander, you're given 1 free mulligan. The formats I'll be referencing are Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, and Commander. Now, the first 4 are 6 card formats, and the differences between each of them is the amount of years each format encompasses. For instance, Standard is the current 2 to 3 years of cards worth, that have been released in the past 2 or 3 years. Pioneer goes back further than that. I want to say 6-7 years now. Modern go back further than that. Legacy further than that, and so on and so forth. Commander encompasses all cards throughout the history of Magic, which is 30 years. 30 going on 31 years. Now, the card types. Until recently, there were only 5, but now there's a 6th one. There's the land, which can play during your main phase 1 or 2. Enchantment, same as land, main phase 1 or 2. Creature, you can play during your main phases as well. Has Summoning Sickness the first turn unless stated, an ability called Haste. Then there's the 4th type, which is a Planeswalker, played during your main phase. You can activate once each turn. Then there are artifacts, which can be played on your main phase 1 or 2. And finally, there's the newest one, which is called a Battle, which you can attack separately, just like you can attack a Planeswalker separately from the player. Except when you attack a battle and remove all the counters, it gives you a creature and a land and enchantment, something of that sort, or a Planeswalker that has added abilities. Then we have non-permanents, which are instants, which can be played at any point in time in response to the active player. The active player is whose turn it is. And then there are sorceries, which can only be played during main phase 1 or 2. Now we come to the portion of the video where I think a lot of new players get kind of stumped. The common terms. MTG, meets Magic the Gathering. Boom. Mic drop. Then there's a style of playing called Burn. There's direct damage to life. Okay? Going wide means multiple creatures. Infinite. A loop that can't be stopped or near unstoppable. Now, players will be real quick to call something infinite that does not meet this criteria. You're full of bull. Honest truth. Magic players are so full of bull, I promise you. They overflow with it. So you have to always know what you're talking about. And don't be afraid to call a judge. Or if you're playing at a Friday Night Magic or a card shop, call over the store owner. Like, call over someone who's been playing the game a long time and ask them, hey, he said this happened. I need you to help me understand. Did this really happen, or is he just pulling my leg here? Okay? Because, let's be honest, I myself have been like messed over by a Magic player who said something worked. I believed him, and then after the fact, someone told me, hey, you know, he got over on you, right? So it happens to everybody. Do not be afraid to speak up. Okay? Now there's ramping, which is playing an additional land, one or multiple. All right. There's a mana dork, which is a creature that makes mana. It taps with a little, curved arrow symbol. That means tap. A trigger is like, if you see a card that says enter the battlefield, that is a triggered ability. A triggered ability is something that activates without nothing being needed. All right. An activated ability is a manually caused ability. That means if something says pay 2 mana, like one colorless, one green, and something happens, that is a activated ability. Now, some other common terms are playstyles like aggro, aggressively attacking small creatures, and burn. All right, 20-0 as soon as possible. It's a very effective way of playing the game. You can see it in multiple formats. It's hard to pull off in Commander, but it is possible. If you don't have time to for a long game, like long drawn out stuff, you just want to get in, do your best to win the game. Aggro, do your thing. Control, stay denial of resources till your opponent can't do anything. You tell them no until it's time for you to tell yourself yes. It works. Hell, that's my personal style. Combo, 2 or more cards in combination to create a state that no one can stop. I've seen it done in stupid ways. I've seen it done in clever ways. It's annoying to fight, in my personal opinion. A lot of players don't like it, especially those in Commander. But they also don't like control, especially in Commander. I hope you get the gist of that. To scoop, it means to concede. It means you give up. There is nothing wrong with conceding the game. If you cannot answer the state of the game, concede. A lot of players be like, oh man, you know what? I'm going to just keep drawing until I find an answer to this situation. Then they wonder why their game is unfun. It's because you want to win that badly. Yet, if someone brings that up, a lot of those players be like, no, man, they're just playing unfun stuff. No, it's not. Let's be honest here, people. Conceding is a legitimate reason because sometimes you just don't have the answer. Okay. Hey, people. So, I'm going to teach you how to use your lands. Okay. So, lands are used to make mana. When you tap a land, it creates mana. Imagine it floating in the air above the land, okay? To tap it, you turn it sideways. Okay? Land is a renewable resource. Every turn, you get to use your land once. If you have a card or a creature or something that makes you untap that land, guess what? You can use it again in the same turn. Boom. Okay. To untap it, you turn it upright. That happens every turn during your untap step, right after your upkeep. Okay. Now, you can play 1 land per turn unless stated by another card. And that's how you use your land. Say it with me, people. Reading the card explains the card. Reading the card explains the card. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed my best presidential voice. Now, take this creature right here, right? The type right is the cost to pay. 1 of any color and 1 white specifically. Number 2, card type. The super type is creature and the subtypes are cat and rebel. Number 3, bottom right, the power is the front 3 and the toughness is the back 1. Now say it with me. Reading the card explains the card. You do that for anything and everything. Do not stop at one sentence. You finish the card completely. At every period on the card, the next part is a separate action. Remember that. Do not try to interpret the card in your own way. That is not how it works. You can try to justify that, but you will just sound like a dumbass. Now it is time for the basic phases of the game. There are 7 of them. Number 1 is the untap step. All tap permanents untap unless stated by a card. Number 2, upkeep. Some abilities and some spells go off here. Pay attention to that. If it says may, your opponent will not let you do it. Most Magic players are dicks. Honestly. Alright, if it does not say may, no matter how they feel about it, it had to happen. Remember that too. But please don't mess up. Number 3, the draw phase. Each player can draw 1 card during their draw phase, unless stated by a card. Number 4, main phase 1. All permanents can be played during this phase. Number 5, combat. It is split up into subsets, like declaring your attacker, the attack phase, block, like declaring your blockers, the block phase, the damage step in the combat. Okay? Then we get number 6, main phase 2, exactly what main phase 1 states. And then number 7, ending step. You can discard down, well, you have to discard down to 7 cards. Cannot have more than that unless a card states otherwise. Any leftover mana floating in the air disappears. And some abilities trigger here too. Look at us. A wonderful cycle of life. Okay, people. This is one of those slides where I'm going to let it stay up extra long just for you all to pause it so you can fully understand how this works. Your deck, aka your library, for those who have a hard time saying that word. That's where the 60 cards minus the 7 for your starting hand go. Your graveyard, that's where all used instants, sorceries, and destroyed permanents go. Your exile, that's when something has been taken out the game entirely, separate pile. Your life points, which vary between 20 in a 6-card format, 30 in a 1v1 commander format, and 40 in a group multiplayer commander game, go. We have the list of phases, which are your untap, your upkeep, your draw, your main phase 1, your combat, your main phase 2, and your ending. Your mana pool, which empties at each phase change. That means if you tap excess mana in your main phase 1, or your draw step, or your upkeep, and you have some left over, it disappears when you move to the next step. So be very mindful of that. And know, if you mess up and do that, and you play a spell after that, and you're going to move, that mana does not stay. You cannot correct that. Stop trying. Your attackers are tapped when they are attacking and cannot block while they are tapped. Your blockers must be untapped to block and can block even with summoning sickness. Your land has a designated area. Okay? You cannot put your land up front. You cannot put your creatures in the back. There you go. I'm going to give it a 1. I'm going to give it a 2. I'm going to give it a 3. If you have any questions or this was not enough time, I recommend you please pause your video. Okay, people. This is where I know my joke's going to have to take a pause here. I'm going to explain the stack. This is the area where all permanents except lands and non-permanents go when played, as well as where abilities both triggered and activated go. The stack is where players can respond before an effect takes place. An example, counter spells, or they could play removal here in response to something before it actually happens. It is kind of like your emergency shutoff valve to stop somebody doing something kind of stupid. The wording used when you're doing this to your opponent, when they're doing it to you, is in response to this. All right. Variation of that include, well, before this happens, right, while that's on the stack, are also acceptable things. Some things that don't use the stack are examples. Mana abilities. When you tap a creature for mana, when you tap an artifact for mana, that does not use the stack. When they phase changes, that does not use the stack. When you're paying the costs on a spell, that does not use the stack. And combat damage does not use the stack. Hell, a very nuanced example is if a card says, hey, you pay this and sacrifice this, right? You pay it, and connected to that pay is the sacrifice, right? So if something says it counts you having to sacrifice an artifact, but it also has a thing that says reduce the cost based on that artifact, right? You count how many artifacts you got. Cool. You tap it. Then you can still sacrifice one of the artifacts that you counted in this because you did it in layers. You follow along with the steps. And that was just a very obscure example here. Well, it's obscure if that's not your style. Some people do live and breathe and die on that hill for that. Okay, people. Here we go. You have the Giant's Primate. Okay? On your main phase, you play Chaplain's Blessing. In response to that, your opponent plays Lightning Bolt. Now, you saw that coming. You play Blacksmith Skill on your Primate. In response to that, they play Counterspell in your Blacksmith Skill. Okay? This is what happens. Counterspell, counters, skill. Your bolt, well, their bolt, kills your Primate. All right? But you still gain the 5 life. The stack goes up, and the last spell played is the first spell that resolves. That's where the timing comes into play. Okay? I hope this was a strung out enough example for this and for all of you out there. If not, please feel free to ask any questions down there in the comments. Not just about this slide, but about anything that you have. Okay? Okay, people. We're at the end now. And these are the need to know. Number 1, and say it with your chest. Read the full card. Reading the card explains the card. Reading the card explains the card. I cannot stress this enough. And yes, some of you are probably tired of it by now, but guess what? You're going to play people that don't read the card till the end. They read one line and think they know what they say. But if they read the card till the end, they would actually know what it says. Number 2, if you get to a point where you are all confused, individual cards have rulings. Okay? You can Google that question, right? You are not the first person to ask this question. You are not. This game has been around 30 years. You are not the first person to have this one question, right? Even when they're new cards, someone has asked this already on Reddit, on Google, on the official Magic the Gathering website. You will get the information that you need. Don't get frustrated. And if you can't find something for that specific card, you will find something similar that will apply. There you go. Number 3, Commander. Anything that causes your commander to change zones. An example, dies, exiles, give you the option to send it to the command zone. Okay? It gains 2 more mana costs each time it goes to the zone. There you go. Your sideboard. In 6-card formats, they have a 15-card sideboard that you can swap cards around to better your matchup in games 2 and 3 of a best of 3. Okay? If you're playing something like that's not an established format, like something just way more casual, then yeah, that's between you all if you want to just go ahead and side in cards. That's going to help you in that matchup. Hell, I've done it before. Like, it wasn't official matches. It was just us messing around and stuff. I'm like, no, I know what you like to do. You can go ahead and do that. That's between y'all. Number 5, artifact equip costs are done at sorcery speed unless a card states differently. Okay? Each of these needs to knows come from my personal experience. So please take them to heart, okay? If you have any questions down below, shoot me. Give me a question. Like, come on. I'm a very approachable person. You can't tell from my off the hand jokes. But there you go, people. This is how to play Magic the Gathering. Hello, people. I just want to say thank you again for all the support you've shown for my videos. And just, I'm really enjoying what I do. And any support that you want to send me, I appreciate it all. Please share it with others that you think might enjoy my content or just my way of doing things in general. Please comment if you have any suggestions or anything you want me to do. If you want to see me play Magic games on here, I can do that. If you want to see me get back to playing some other games as well, I do stream on Twitch every Saturday night at midnight. And I just want to say thank you all and live your best life. Be well, people. This is Ender signing off here at Indy 5.18.